The Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda, Sages of India, Part 6. Do not waste your time upon little details. Take up the framework, the essence of life. There are many historical discrepancies. There may be interpolations in the life of Krishna. All these things may be true. But at the same time, there must have been a basis, a foundation for this new and tremendous departure. Taking the life of any other sage or prophet, we find that that prophet is only the evolution of what had gone on before him. We find that that prophet is only preaching the ideas that had been scattered about his own country, even in his own times. Great doubts exist, even as to whether that prophet existed or not. But here I challenge anyone to show whether these ideas, these things, work for work's sake, love for love's sake, duty for duty's sake, were not original ideas with Krishna, and as such, there must have been someone with whom these ideas originated. They could not have been borrowed from anybody else. They were not floating about in the atmosphere when Krishna was born. But Lord Krishna was the first preacher of these ideas. His disciple, Vyasa, took it up and preached it to the mankind. This is the highest idea to picture. The highest thing we can get out of him is Gopi Jana Vallabha, the beloved of gopis of Vrindavan. When that madness comes to your brain, when you understand the blessed gopis, then you will understand what love is. Then you will understand what love really is. When the whole world will vanish, when all other considerations have died out, when you will become pure-hearted with no other aim, not even the search after truth, then and then alone will come to you the madness of that love, the strength and the power of that infinite love which the gopis had, that love for love's sake. That is the goal. When you have got that, you have got everything. To come down to the lower stratum, Krishna, the preacher of the Gita, there is an attempt in India now which is like putting the cart before the horse. Many of our people think that Krishna, as the lover of the gopis, is something rather uncanny, and the Europeans do not like it that much. Dr. So-and-so does not like it. Certainly, then the gopis must go. Without the sanction of Europeans, how can Krishna live? He cannot. In the Mahabharata, there is no mention of the gopis except in one or two places, and those are not very remarkable places. In the prayer of the Draupadi, there is mention of a Vrindavan life, and in the speech of Shishupal, there is again mention of this Vrindavan. All these are interpolations. What the Europeans do not want must be thrown off. They are interpolations, the mention of gopis and of Krishna too. With these men steeped in commercialization, where even the ideal of religion has become commercial, they are all trying to go to heaven by doing something here. The Baniya wants compound interest, wants to lay by something here and enjoy it there. Certainly the gopis have no place in such a system of thought. From that ideal lover, we have come down to the lower stratum of Krishna, the preacher of the Gita. Then to the Gita, no better commentary on the Vedas has been written or can be written. The essence of the Shrutis or of the Upanishads is hard to be understood, seeing that there are so many commentators, each one trying to interpret in his own way. Then the Lord himself comes, he who is the inspirer of the Shrutis, to show us the meaning of them as the preacher of the Gita. And today India wants nothing better. The world wants nothing better than that method of interpretation. It is a wonder that subsequent interpreters of the scriptures, even commenting upon the Gita, many times could not catch the meaning, many times could not catch the drift. For what do you find in the Gita and what in modern commentators? One non dualistic commentator takes up an Upanishad. There are so many dualistic passages, and he twists and tortures them into some meaning and wants to bring them all into a meaning of his own. If a dualistic commentator comes, there are so many non dualistic texts which he begins to torture to begin to bring them all around to dualistic meaning. But you find in the Gita there is no attempt at torturing any one of them. They are all right, says the Lord. For slowly and gradually the human soul rises up and up, step after step. Dualistic commentator comes. There are so many non-dualistic texts which he begins to torture to bring them all round to dualistic meaning. But you find that in the Gita there is no attempt at torturing any one of them. They are all right, says the Lord, for slowly and gradually the human soul rises up and up, step after step, from the gross to the fine, from the fine to the finer, until it reaches the absolute, the goal. That is what is in the Gita. Even the Karma Kand is taken up, and it is shown that although it cannot give salvation directly, but only indirectly, yet that is only also valid. Images are valid indirectly. Ceremonies, forms, everything is valid only with one condition: purity of the heart. For worship is valid and leads to the goal if the heart is pure and the heart is sincere. And all these various modes of worship are necessary. Else, why should they be there? Religions and sects are not the work of hypocrites and wicked people who invented all these to get a little money, as some of our modern men want to think. However reasonable that explanation may seem, it is not true. And they were not invented that way at all. They are the outcome of the necessity of the human soul. They are all there to satisfy the hankering and the thirst of different classes of human minds, and you need not preach against them. The day when that necessity will cease, they will all vanish along with the cessation of that necessity. And so long as that necessity remains, there must be there, in spite of your preaching, in spite of your criticism. You may bring the sword or the gun into play. You may deluge the world with human blood. But so long as there is a necessity for idols, they must remain. These forms and all the various steps in religion will remain, and we understand from the Lord Sri Krishna why they should.